Hey Connect community, good evening. We're so glad that you're able to join us today for another installment of our midweek study. Dan, it's the first one of the year.
We should have a jingle by now, no?
Right?
What do you...
Maybe can the three of us pull one off right now?
Oh, I got the beat.
No, let's not do that. It's going to derail. That's not good. You're incredibly good at that. That's amazing.
No? All right, I tried.
That's amazing. Today we have the privilege and the treat of having our dear friend all the way from Sacramento, California, Mr. Santo Militello.
The New York Yankees quarterback. Yes, it is.
Say hi to the people, Santo.
The tree is here. I'm wearing something new. I changed. I've showered since I've last seen you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How was your Christmas?
I was actually kind of sad. I spent it with no family. My parents came up. There was actually one restaurant that we could dine in, and so we did that.
So California is pretty closed up still.
Yeah, we're locked in. So a lot of Bible reading.
How about you, Dan? How was your Christmas and New Year's?
Absolutely amazing. Locked in with the girls as well. But it was amazing. A little bit of family, a lot of food,
and
a lot of sleeping.
That's always good. Well, we hope your Christmas and your New Year's were good. And as we begin January, let's focus back on what matters most, make the most of this year. So today we're going to give a little bit more time for our study and conversation. And the three of us are going to continue our study on the Sermon on the Mount. It's really excited for it. We're going to talk about oaths today, and Jesus' teaching on it. But I want to remind you that we are in our 14-day of fasting and prayer. And if you haven't heard about it, today's day 4. And what we're doing here, we're inviting you to fast and to pray for 2021. Pray for your life. Pray for God's plan for you. Also pray for this church, Connect Community, what God has in store for Connect Community. We shared our vision last Sunday that this is the year of unity. I explained why God gave us that word early in October last year. And we're going to focus on unity, not only for ourselves, our businesses, our families, but unity in the body of Christ, unity growing together in faith. So this is part of that. And at the very end of this midweek study, you will have an opportunity to unite with other people in our Connect groups. So I encourage you to do that.
Connect groups, unite.
Exactly.
Thing, huh?
Exactly. It's all via Zoom still. We're considering starting in-person groups. So stay tuned for that. But let's get on with the conversation and discuss this awesome passage. Dan, why don't you read for us Matthew 5, verses 33 through 37, and then we'll begin chatting and talking about unpacking this awesome passage. I know you love that word, Santo.
Beautiful word.
It's not
Dive
luggage.
in, baby.
It's not luggage. How can you unpack a text?
Verse 33, the oaths. Yeah. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to the Lord what you have sworn. But I have said to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is the footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let what you say be simply a yes or a no. Anything more than this comes from evil.
If I am new to the gospel, if I am new to the Bible, if I am new to Jesus and I read this, I would be thinking that Jesus is probably going a little bit too hard on this. Anything other than yes or no comes from the evil one.
Well, you remember the movie Batman?
Yeah.
Which one, though?
Yeah, right. All 400 of them. Well, that reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies, Batman Begins. It's the Dark Knight series by Christopher Nolan. And when you said that we now don't really take oaths very seriously.
Uh-huh.
I think this movie kind of has an interesting analogy where this guy, Batman, takes him and he's like shaking him, and he's saying, you know, trying to get information out of him, and he's like, I swear to God, man, I swear to God that this is the truth, and then Batman goes, swear to me. And so it's
I think I remember that scene now that I hear you mention it.
yeah. So I'm not saying
the moment
Batman,
you put the deep voice on, it sort of rung a bell for him.
It's like,
I don't got that Batman voice, but
swear to me.
I'm not saying that Christian Bale or Batman's the evil one, but it's I think it's just an interesting analogy of well, we just swear to anything, and then what, you know, things are mostly meaningless.
Exactly. That's what makes me think about the meaning of your words, right? When you do a lot of deals. You're in construction.
Yep.
How many projects are you working on now?
5.
And how much of your dealings have to be in writing?
For payment purposes, most of them have to be
Right.
But a lot of it actually happens on the handshake.
Oh, really? That surprises me.
There are 2 projects that I'm running on now where there are no contracts.
Wow.
And the conversations was, here's what we want to do, and this is what we're going to do.
Wow.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
But when you know the people who referred you to people.
Okay.
I think
there's a relationship. There's a relationship cost there. There's like political capital.
Yep.
That kind of hinges that person to you.
But if Pookie don't know you, there must be a contract to start.
Yeah. How about you, Santo? You run a business.
I do.
You know, and you deal with people all the time. In fact, your business probably has a lot to do with this passage.
Well, we do deal with contracts and insurance. It's binding authority and everything. And it's kind of interesting because if you fail to uphold these contracts or these oaths, there's some dire consequences.
Yeah.
So when I put my name or my business name on top of this contract, that, you know, I have to uphold my end. I can't just, you know, trust me on this one, and then they get in an accident, and then nobody's paying out claim. Well, then I'm on the hook for it, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
That's why I have errors and omissions insurance. But I'm not gonna get technical, but yes, there's quite a bit of consequences, or if we use a biblical term, curses, to not upholding our word or our oath.
Yeah. And how valuable is that for society? Why should people look at this scripture and go like, I got to follow this?
Well, all business is done by people you trust. I think the best, I mean, I'm Italian, I'm Sicilian. I think the best lesson we can learn is try to break an oath with a mafia guy.
Yeah.
See what happens. You know, so our word means something. It's quite life or death in some situations. And my name, you don't want to shatter that name, which brings me to go dive in deeper and unpacking more scripture.
Should we all dive together?
Let's do it. Santo, 3, 2, 1, go.
There it is.
Okay.
I'm cutting this. I'm not going to use this part.
Don't cut that. Yeah. So So remember Jesus, where he is getting this from. We just went over divorce.
Yeah.
Okay. So now he's quoting again scripture that comes from the 10 Commandments.
That's right.
Comes from the 3rd commandment.
Yeah.
Do not take the Lord's name in vain. And it's the only commandment that says you will not be forgiven.
Wow.
If you break this law. And so what does this mean necessarily? Now, some sects of people believe that just saying the name of God, his holy name, is breaking this commandment. Others, it's taking an oath or using his name to do wrong. So in other words, for example, I'm using the Lord's name to commit murder, to steal, to break any of these commandments. I'm using God's name. And when we defame God's name, well, then we are held what's called not guiltless. What he's saying is that your life and your oath are one and the same.
Yep.
So stop risking your life by saying oaths you cannot keep.
When you just use your words in a selfish manner, in a way that whether you're trying to get attention or you're trying to manipulate people, you will lose your credibility. And a person without credibility cannot do anything. If you can't be trusted, you can't execute anything. Your life is done.
Oaths, from a biblical context, often are affiliated with curses.
We're living in interesting times because not too long ago, it's still in our lifetime, you would be able to say that commonly you have two opposing views that are morally, sound. They're staying the same plane. One is the truth, the other one is the lie. That's it. You could measure every statement and every attitude and by these two measures. But now what we see more and more is this relativism of truth, where truth is not objective in a lot of people's minds. And I think that not only in a philosophical realm, because we can stay up here, right? But in a practical sense, in day-to-day life, that can lead into all sorts of issues, all sorts of problems in relationships, in dealings. Because if I'm in dealing with Dan or with you, and I have my truth and he has his truths, right? And we're trying to agree on a project, on a way to proceed. There's no way that we're going to find common ground and we're going to see eye to eye. I think
we're in a society that's reached that you need so many laws. Dan reached it on the head. I mean, and with my business too, is we need so much paperwork, and we need just to trust each other.
Yeah.
A handshake won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're Dan, because look at that face.
He knows people.
I know where you live too, so.
Yeah, he works in people's bedrooms.
But no, I mean,
living rooms and kitchens.
But think about that. Think about that. How powerful that is. That Dan actually can use a handshake, and he has built business on that. That says a lot about his character.
True.
Especially in today's day, because and I think we should share that with Connect community on that as a testimony of how honest you should be, because people only do business with people they trust.
Yes.
Am I the only one who grew up with this at their house? My mother used to drive this in our heads. Let your yes be a yes.
Yeah.
Let your no be a no.
Yeah.
If you go anywhere else,
yeah.
She would say it with a mouthful. It's of the devil.
Yeah.
And I think that really made us understand that there's value in our words.
Yes.
And I think, I have a personality to where I will overcommit to things. And I remember growing up how I would always remember this in the back of my mind. Dan, you're sort of going in a different direction here.
Yeah.
I think the moment you understand and you sort of get that there are value in your words, that, you can't just live your own truth forever. At some point, there's got to be some sort of relationship. And I think going back to what Santa was saying, your oaths are not only to God, it has to work on this way. And there's a lot of value once you understand that there's value of the oaths, not just to God, but there's value in their consequences to the people who are around you and you as well. You touched on credibility before as well, too. So it sort of goes a full circle all around.
You don't have to get that old nowadays to find yourself signing a contract or agreeing to things. Like my daughters, when they download an app, they have to press I agree, right? Because everything has some kind of binding terms of service nowadays that you have to agree to.
Yep.
And so people are growing up in these avenues, digital or in person, where you always have to sign a form, sign a contract, say that you agree, and you're held accountable to something that's written down. And I think that what Jesus is saying here is, hey, everything you say is an oath. You shouldn't have to oath because everything you say is binding.
Yep.
So you should only speak the truth, because it's not like, I swear. Oh, so what were you doing before? Like, well, what about everything else you say when you don't swear? Right? What kind of person are you? Are you living a double-minded life?
Nobody likes a flake, and for that reason, you can't trust them.
Exactly.
And Dan was doing something earlier where he was doing this, me to you, and up to God. And what's fascinating is in the 10 Commandments, it's structured that way. The first 5 regard God, and the second 5 represent man. Now, what does Jesus say are the 2 greatest commandments? Love God, love your neighbor. So it's as if the 10 Commandments represent God and neighbor.
The cross.
The fifth one, honor father and mother, is the connector. Now, it goes further that the laws are connected to each other. So the 6th law represents the first law, or the first represents the 6th, the 7th, and the 2nd, and so forth. So
just like the creation, right? And the days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the 3rd one is do not lie about God, do not take his name in vain. Well, what's the 8th one? Do not steal. So when you lie, you're stealing.
Yeah.
So I mean, think about it. What's libel? Or if I start saying Dan's company cheats me, and so forth, I am stealing from not only. I'm not defying your name, but I'm stealing from your business. I'm stealing from your food,
from his credibility, from his political capital, from his trust that he's built. Yeah.
Yes. So libel and slander are very serious offenses.
Very serious.
So, yes, and so when you do not keep your oath, you're slandering God's name. That's how serious it is.
There's the other side of what Jesus is talking about that he doesn't bring up here, but he does bring up in several other passages, is the fact of how bad lying is, right? And lying, like you said, it is theft. Lying is betrayal. You're betraying at every degree, even a little white lie that they call it, right? There's a level of betrayal there because you're deceiving.
I grew up in an Italian home, and this was their belief, that when you tell a child, if you don't behave this way or you don't put that down, I'm gonna punish you, and you don't do it, or you're teaching that child to lie. Now, so when you say you're going to do something,
you have to follow
do
through. Yeah.
Because if you don't, what are you doing to that child? You're teaching it how to lie.
You're teaching that your word means nothing.
I wanted to bring that up because some people think, some lies or how innocuous it is. Well, then it's okay.
Well, I think parenting is such a difficult thing, right? Because you never get trained to parent your child, and there's no amount of books that you can read on parenting that can prepare you for your child, because every child is different.
Well, you think the books will get you ready until you actually have a child.
Exactly. And books do help. Counseling does help. Talking to friends does help. But the idiosyncrasies of each individual and the relationship at home too, because it's the same is true about marriage. No marriage is the same, because you're dealing with two individual histories, particular, personalities, and there are certain tools that you can use, but each marriage has its own story. And you add a child to that, it becomes something sometimes challenging, sometimes it has its own life. But just on the day-to-day thing, right? On the day-to-day activity, on the day-to-day challenges, I can easily see how a parent can go like, don't do that. If you do that, boom. And then you forget about it because you get busy. Or, your child is asking for something and you know they shouldn't have it. And you say no. And you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. No. And then they keep pushing, they keep pushing, they keep pushing, they keep pushing, and then you give in. When you give in, they know that you have you have a threshold.
Yep.
And as long as you have a threshold, they will push, and they will keep pushing. So children, just like we learn from our parents, children learn not only by listening, but by observing and by testing.
Yep.
It's not just caught. They test you on your word. And they're constantly testing you on your word. But that never stops. We're constantly being tested on your word. So I think what Jesus is teaching us here and what he's leading us is not something that should make us uptight. It's actually freeing and releasing. Because if you commit to the truth, if you commit to just always being honest, always saying what's true, you don't have to worry about anything that you've said.
But what seems to be a burden is also, it's actually more of a releasing factor.
Yeah.
The way how we might read it seems like he is heavy.
Yeah.
However, what he's attempting to do is to lift this idea that this is actually a weight on your shoulders, but this is actually meant to release you, because if you stick to the truth, you don't have to keep looking behind you.
Yeah.
You know, to use a mafia analogy, if you say you're going to do it, do it.
Because Dan's last name is DePaula.
I am a quarter Sicilian, as you can see.
But, you know, going back to the whole kids analogy, I think, you know, as parents are crying after what you just said, you know, oh my gosh. But I do think that I love when my kids hold me accountable. I told them, hey, we're going to go. You happened Monday.
Yeah.
Gosh. I said, listen, when you wake up tomorrow, there will be cookies and milk at the table waiting for you. They woke up. There was no cookie and no milk. Mm-hmm. Guess who got held accountable? Hey, Dad, no good morning.
Yeah.
Where's the cookie? Where's the milk? I'm like, I love you. But
go back to bed, and it'll be there for you when you wake up.
20 minutes. What I did, I think Jackie looked at me, and Jackie was like, "Hey, way to go, bud." But what that did to me was, if you tell them, they're expecting it.
Not only they're expecting it, they're gonna wake up at 5 a.m.
I know.
To go get the cookies and milk
earlier than usual.
You fell into the trap.
But I think I usually fall on this thing that, hey, I'm going to do this entire puzzle for you. When you wake up, it's going to be ready. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm still doing the puzzle because I promised. Yeah. There's something about it when you get held accountable. It brings you back into it.
You're tapping into something that's powerful. It's the attractiveness of truth. Kids are attracted to truth telling. They're attracted to credibility, right? When we told our girls we're going to go to Houston to visit your cousins, and it's going to be on Thanksgiving week.
Countdown happened.
Oh my God. That was the law. If we hadn't had the tickets yet, if we were just like planning and we were like, hey, you know, let's tell the kids that we are going, but there's no plan, we would have been in deep trouble, because we would have had to make it happen. But you know, we've learned not to do that. So we only told them when everything was set already, because we knew that at that moment, it's set in stone, man. It's the law. And on the day that we had to fly out, now when we fly with our kids, we don't pick any early flight. We leave like at 10 in the morning, noon. Like we go in the middle of the day, because we're not rushing to the airport at 4 a.m. to catch a flight. But this flight had to be early. And so we had to wake up probably 5:30. It was the time that we're supposed to wake up. These kids got up at 2.
Oh, they were ready to go.
2 a.m. They're going down the stairs. Excited. But because truth is attractive.
It's liberating.
Yes.
That's the word.
It's more liberating than getting your way. And what's to go back to...
Ooh, that's good.
And so to go back to what Jesus is echoing here...
Truth is more liberating than getting your way.
Yes.
Oh.
So Jesus is pulling from Numbers 30 here. So when a woman or a wife takes an oath that her father or husband does not agree with, well, then the oath is nullified. Now, does this mean that women, this is a patriarchal law. No, it's trying to bring harmony to the marriage or to the household.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually in this verse or in this chapter of Numbers 30, it actually talks about an independent woman. And it says, well, if she's independent, then she could take the oath and she's held accountable to nobody but herself and God. So because you're combined to one another, you're part of that marriage, your word and your oath is on the same equilibrium as the husband.
It's very
so you're responsible to each other.
It's very interesting.
It's freeing that way.
Well, I think we've given you enough to chew on and to think about in this discussion, and we're so glad that you chose to join us today. We're going to give you some time to go into Connect Groups right now and have a discussion on this idea of truth and lies and the importance of it. I'm sure that this will be a riveting and enriching discussion, because this is something that all of us deal with, and all of us are looking for truth, aren't we? It's just so hard to pretend. It's so hard to live in this world that's built on facades, and Jesus here is calling us to live truthfully and to just do that every single day. Every single thing we say, every conversation we have, every agreement we go into, just to do it truthfully. So let me encourage you to go into Connect Groups and to discuss, meditate on this scripture this week. And we'll come back in 2 weeks for the second part. Santa's going to be here with us, and we're going to have a blast again talking about retaliation, another aspect of Jesus' teaching that is so, so important. Until then, we hope to see you this weekend, online only, and then the following weekend is our Vision Sunday. We're going to have a blast. Parents, stay tuned for childcare. We're going to begin childcare soon at Connect Community. Registration, pre-registration will be required. So look at your emails. Soon information will come. We're just working out and finalizing everything with the school. Thank you for tuning in. We love you so much. See you in 2 weeks for the next part of this discussion. Have a blessed week.